Hello, I'd like to welcome you to the video titled Greatest Common Factor Word Problems, and the goal for this video is to understand how to identify a GCF word problems and how to solve them as well. So let's take a look at some greatest common factor word problems. So it is important to understand whenever you're looking at greatest common factor word problems, there are some key words that you can see that help you identify whether it's a greatest common factor word problem or least common multiple word problem. I understand in this video, since we're talking about greatest common factor word problems, it's not that big of a deal, but when you're trying to decipher whether it's least common multiple or greatest common factor, it is important to understand some of the key words. So some of the key words that will be in a greatest common factor word problem will be greatest and also most. Those are the key words that you will look for, and whenever you see that, that's a good indicator that it's going to be a greatest common factor word problem. So for example, it says the middle school band has 56 members. The high school band has 96 members. The bands are going to march one after the other in a parade. The director wants to arrange the bands into the same number of columns. What is the greatest number of columns? So that's the key word, greatest. Because I see that word greatest, I know this is going to be a greatest common factor word problem. What is the greatest number of columns in which the two bands can be arranged if each column has the same number of marchers? And also, how many band members will be in each column? So my first step for this problem is trying to find the greatest common factor of 56 and 96. And I would go through the different steps. So I'd list all the factors of 56, all the factors of 96, which we've already gone over how to do that. So I could see that the greatest number of columns is going to be 8. And why is it 8? Because that's the greatest common factor of 56 and 96. Now my next step is asking me how many band members will be in each column. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to add 56 and 96 together. Okay, and that will give me 152 total band members. Now, that doesn't mean 152 total band members will be in each column. What I need to do is just take out my calculator, take 152 total band members, divide them by 8, because 8 is the greatest number of columns in which the bands can be arranged. Okay, so take 152 divided by 8, and that means there will be a total of 19 members in each column. Okay, so again, need to make sure you understand that when you see the word greatest, that means it's going to be a greatest common factor problem. All right, and then you find the greatest common factor, and then make sure you're answering all the questions. So there's 2 questions here, and it's just saying how many band members will be in each column. So there's 8 total columns. You just take the total number of band members, divide it by how many columns there are. So it's a 19, the answer would be 19 members in each column. So let's take a look at another problem. And we have for football tryouts at a local school, 12 coaches and 42 players will split into groups. Each group will have the same number of coaches and players. What is the most amount of coaches and players that can be, what's the most amount of groups that can be formed, and how many coaches and players will be in each group? So we can see that they're talking about the most amount. So most amount, or the most that something is, identifies greatest common factor story problem. So that is very important to understand that. So we're taking a look at what's the most amount of groups that can be formed. So what we do first of all is we take 12 and 42 and we find the greatest common factor. The greatest common factor of 12 and 42 is going to be 6. So whenever they're asking you what is the most amount of something that can be formed, that's going to be the greatest common factor answer there. That's where the greatest common factor will go. So 6 total groups, and now they're asking how many coaches and players will be in each group. Okay, so coaches and players. Now what we do is we take our greatest common factor number, and we have 6 groups. So there's a total of 12 coaches, so we just take 12 divided by 6, that's going to be 2 coaches per group. And we take the total amount of players and we divide it by the amount of groups that we have. So we take 42 divided by 6 will equal 7. So 7 total players. So for this problem, the groups, 6 total groups, coaches 2 in each group, players 7 in each group. What we're doing is we're taking these numbers, dividing it by the greatest common factor, and that's how we're getting our answers. So this concludes the video on greatest common factor word problems. If you have any questions about this concept, please come and see me.